Oh, hello, hello, hello. Welcome in right here, Fantasy Life. Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam Ronis with you for the next couple of hours, breaking down everything you need to know from week one. It is an Overreaction Monday. We'll have the phone lines open, getting your overreactions to week one. We got Monday Night Football. I don't know, Adam, there was blood, there were tantrums, there were epic finishes. It felt like a crazy week one. How you doing?
Doing well, yeah. It always is. Every week in the NFL is its own craziness. Week one, though, always a little different. It still
Always.
felt like the preseason, and I think that's been going on the last couple years with only 3 preseason games and a lot of players just not playing at all. So you tend to see some sloppiness, some low-scoring games, some stats that don't add up. Uh, but again, it is 1 week, and we say it every single year. Don't panic, relax.
Don't
And
panic.
everyone overreacts and panics. Victory laps. Like, come on, guys. It's still 1 week. And it's not really a long season because it's short compared to the
No,
other fantasy seasons,
unfortunately.
but
Yeah.
it's still just 1 week. So you need to relax.
At some point yesterday, I saw the stat from Hayden Wink saying zero skill players have reached 25 plus full PPR points so far this week. That was obviously before the Bills Ravens game, but that's how, I mean, it was kind of gross. If you look through some of the stats, like some of the key guys, and we're going to go through it, it's an overreaction Monday. We're going to have overreactions, and that's why but like Nico Collins, George Pickens, Jameson Williams, T. Higgins, Chase, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. We can go back to the Thursday night game. Some of those key guys did not perform well for you, and that's okay. That's why you say, Adam, don't overreact, don't freak out. You can be mad about it for maybe what today. We limit them to today, tomorrow, and then we move on and we win again. But those were some crazy stats though that I saw halfway. I believe it was halfway through, the late slate of games. Definitely, obviously before Sunday night football. But yeah, some of those skill position players did not perform well.
Apparently, the Bengals playing in the preseason did not help because once again, it was awful.
Woof.
But last year, the same thing happened. Week one, Joe Burrow had no touchdown passes. Jamar Chase, the first 2 weeks last year, had 95 yards on 10 receptions and no touchdowns. How did those guys finish this season? I think they did
Hmm.
okay. So it's going to happen. It still essentially is preseason for a lot of these teams. So, uh, I wouldn't be panicking, especially on the Bengals. And for some reason, Joe Burrow does not play well in Cleveland.
At least they won that game, right? I think that's all they care about.
Yeah,
17-16. They
I
said, I don't
actually,
care. We won.
I
Oh,
know.
what?
So
You
we're
took
in that
them?
contest with 3 Survivor
You didn't.
picks. I took Cincinnati with one of them. I
Wow.
did.
I like that.
Did you
I
go
took I went 3 for 3. I took
three
let
different
me
ones?
look.
I did three
Yeah.
different ones. I did
I did 3 different ones too, but
Denver, and Arizona.
I didn't know we could pick the same team. I need to read the rules, obviously. I didn't know we could
Well,
pick
it's
the
three
same
separate
teams.
entries, so you could pick whoever you
Oh,
want.
got it, got it,
Yeah.
got it. Should have probably looked at that. But yeah, I picked the Cardinals, which sometimes I was sweating that one out. I picked the
That was a
Bucks.
sweat at the end.
I picked the Bucks. That was a sweat
Really? Wow,
too.
that was bold.
Yeah.
I thought the Falcons were going
I
to win that
wanted
game, and
no,
then
I
who
I
misses a
felt
field goal?
I felt that the Bucks were going to win that one. And then I took an easy one for another one. Well, it was somewhat easy, but I took the Eagles in another one. That was
Okay.
also a little bit scary. Uh but alas, we survive in advance here. We've got a lot to talk about. Oh my goodness. We've got so much to talk about. Again, appreciate everyone hanging out with us. I want to say we're talking waivers tomorrow, but if you guys need a jump start, my waiver article is live. Wanted to get that out early for everyone. FantasyLife.com. Use that code SXM20, gets you 20% off any tier 1 or tier 2 Fantasy Life Plus subscription. I think we have to start with last night's game because that was instantly a classic. It was such a treat to have that rematch of last season's AFC divisional round game between the Baltimore Ravens, Buffalo Bills. People were leaving the stadium, Adam. The Bills fans said, "I'm done with this. I can't do it." And oh my goodness, the game shifted. It was Derrick Henry fumbled on Baltimore's 38 with 3:10 left in the game. Buffalo recovered the ball. They were able to march down the field. A lot happened in between there, but a 40-38 win. And if you were facing anyone from Buffalo or the Ravens, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You might have tilted in the wrong direction for you, but what a great game, and it was so fun to see. Of course, Josh Allen, reigning NFL MVP, he went 33 of 46, 394, two touchdowns, added 30 rushing yards, two scores on the ground. You had Lamar Jackson, 14 of 19, 209, two touchdowns, and then he had 70 rushing yards and a touchdown on the ground. Great night for fantasy over there.
Yes, it was. If you did go against these guys like I did in a couple of
I'm
matchups, yeah, your
sorry.
night was over pretty quickly. You could see it coming. Finally got an entertaining game, which we knew it was going to be with these teams. Boy, what a brutal loss for
Oh
Baltimore, who
my gosh,
keeps finding ways to lose
man.
these type of games. The Ravens ran 50 plays and piled up 432 yards.
Wow.
That's how good they were. And the Bills had 78 plays in this game and had the ball most of the game. Yeah, just a brutal loss. But fantasy wise, if you faded Derrick Henry again, you're hating life right now because he is just running all over once again, even though he did have that key fumble. Zay Flowers with a big game.
Yeah, big
Seven
game.
cat. Yeah. Look, the thing with Flowers is just like, I don't know if he can do this consistently in this
Mhm.
offense. Again, Lamar Jackson completed 14 passes and half of them went to Zay Flowers. So we know that they're going to run the football a lot. Mark Andrews, though, was the disappointment here. You know, you probably felt
Yeah.
like with Isaiah Likely out, maybe that would help him, but he only had one target. But again, Lamar Jackson only attempted 19 passes and completed 14. So that's going to happen. And then, a lot of goodness on the Bill side. And
Oh yeah.
this is why if we've been saying like if you want to pay up for quarterback, it's worth doing it, even though I really didn't do it. uh,
Even though we didn't take our own advice. But
I
it
did get
is.
Lamar Jackson in some best ball, but redraft
That
I
doesn't
really never
count.
did it.
Yeah.
But there were still some quarterbacks going later. One we'll get to later that I have a lot of that worked
Mhm.
out. Justin Fields.
Yeah.
James Cook looked great. I just keep saying, like, imagine if he got more touches. Now it's can't really complain about this game. He got 18
I didn't say
touches,
yeah, 13 carries?
13 carries, 5
44 yards.
receptions. That
Yeah.
was big because we didn't see
Yep.
that as much last year towards the end of the season. His
No.
passing usage got scaled back. So that was good to see. Ty Johnson did not have a reception and Ray Davis only one. So if that holds, that's going to be good for Cook. Keon Coleman, a lot of people expecting a big season from him. He led them in targets with 11. Shakir. So pretty much all these guys that you were counting on. It's just you're probably not going to see Josh Allen attempt 46 passes every week. They were constantly playing from behind. So you do
Mhm.
have to take that into account, but certainly a good start for most of your Bills players.
Yeah, Derrick Henry is leading right now in fantasy points for week one for running backs. You got the wide receivers up there towards the top, Zay Flowers, Keon Coleman, which was fun to see. And then quarterbacks, of course, both of those guys are going to be up there for week one. So it was a fun game to watch. Yeah, the Ravens, I just feel like, we talk about the Ravens all the time, but sometimes you have to think how seriously can we take them going into the playoffs? I know that's way down the line, but when they have these meltdowns, they have to be able to put these away. They had a 40 to 25 fourth quarter lead and they were able to give that up. And there were miscues all over the place. It was the fourth quarter fumble from Derrick Henry. It was several mistakes that happened that all of a sudden we look around and we're like, wow, the Bills might be able to actually win this game, and they went down and did. But yeah, I saw this stat. John Harbaugh has blown 17 double digit second half leads, the most by any coach since at least 1991. It's a fun one for you on a Monday.
Yeah,
Brutal.
it's how about this? The Ravens are the first team in NFL history to score 40 plus points and rush for at least 235 yards in a loss. Teams were
Wow.
previously 277 and 0, including the playoffs.
Wow. That one beats mine. We could keep going back with bad stats. Sorry, Ravens fans. But just all that to say, it was so fun. Obviously for fantasy, it was fireworks, and we kind of expected that. But yeah, the Ravens losing that one was it was self-inflicted mistakes that they have to, and that's what they talked about last season, Adam. They said, hey, this is things we can't do. We have to learn from this in that playoff loss to the Bills in January. And then they come back and they're turning the ball over. They're shooting themselves in the foot. So overall, though, fun game, and it was great to end the weekend on, or at least Sunday with that great game after what we saw. You want to talk about your guy, Justin Fields? Feel
Yeah,
good
look,
story. I mean, the Jets lost, but that's a win for Justin Fields and the Jets, in my opinion.
a typical Jets loss, unfortunately. Jets fans are all too familiar with this, but yeah, you have to be encouraged with Justin Fields because all the talk this week with the Jets was tough matchup against Pittsburgh. Going to be tough to play some of these guys, or you're going to lower expectations. And Fields, pretty much every week, like this week, was probably the lowest you're going to see Fields ranked this year. You know,
Yep.
a lot of people had him outside the top 12. That's not going to be the case most weeks. But this is the whole point. When you look at Fields, you go, all right, yeah, he could have a bad game, but he's always going to give you that high floor due to his rushing. And he had 48 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, and passed the ball well. Again, only
Mhm.
22 attempts. That's the crazy part. When you look at the Jets, right? This was like a back and forth high scoring game. He still only attempted 22 passes. So the Jets said, we
Yep.
don't care what the score is. We don't care if it's a shootout. We're running the football. 39 runs, 22 passes. But Fields, if he's going to pass like that, maybe they allow him to do a little bit more. 218 and a passing touchdown. So it was a big game for him. And Brees Hall looked
Yes.
great.
Looked
He looked
good.
great. People were getting him in the 5th round of
Mhm.
drafts that last week of the season. He really started to fall. Right now, that looks like a pretty good pick. Now, we did see Braylon Allen get involved, and he got a goal line carry and scored, but he's not good. He's not good compared to Brees Hall.
No.
And Hall also 2 catches for 38
Yeah.
yards. So you're feeling really good if you have Brees Hall and Garrett Wilson, who
Yeah, they
it
all
was
came
funny.
up.
But Garrett Wilson, like, so he was going like late 2nd round, early 3rd round for a while, and he started to fall a little bit too. But he was always in that area that I talked about where a lot of those receivers you didn't feel good about. And with Garrett Wilson, like I said, it comes down to how many touchdowns he's going to score. We know he's going to be getting most of the volume on this team. We know he's going to get receptions. We know he's going to get yards. Whether he pays off his ADP comes down to touchdowns because the first 2 years he was in the league, he only had 7 combined. And that's why he was outside the top 20-25, even with all that volume. Last year, 7 touchdowns, and I think he finished somewhere, I think he was in the top 20 in points per game. And his Vegas total before the year was 4.5 touchdowns, which is extremely low when you looked at all the receivers being drafted in his area. And he
Yeah.
did come through with a touchdown. Unfortunately, he had a catch late, and Jalen Ramsey absolutely popped him, and the ball
I
came
know.
loose
I
to
was a
end the
little bit
game.
worried. I was a little bit worried about that. I was like, please get up. We
Yeah,
can't do this.
let's
We've got
you
some
know you
injuries.
gotta hope that the next couple days with these injury reports. Remember, there are injuries we know about now. There are some that we
Mhm.
don't. We're gonna find out Wednesday
Exactly.
when these guys start coming to the facility. So keep that in mind.
Exactly. But yeah, Justin Fields, it was so fun to see because we talked about Justin Fields a lot this offseason saying, "Hey, we don't have a Jaden Daniels, to the point where we think that they're going to put up top 3, QB3 numbers, but Justin Fields was one of those guys where we said, if you don't get the elite ones, just wait because Justin Fields on the ground can be lethal." And the way that he looked so comfortable back there. That was the other thing that I saw. Like he looked comfortable, felt like he wasn't looking over his shoulder saying, okay, when's someone else going to come in? But yeah, 16 to 22, 218 and a touchdown. And then produced on the design carries, scramble attempts, everything that we expected. Rushed for 48 yards, 2 touchdowns there. And then, yeah, Garrett Wilson, that was also fun. He had a 42.9% target share. So we talked back and forth this offseason about the Buckeye connection. Maybe they're going to be able to put it together, and it really did. It felt great. The dual threat usage and the Jets game plan I think was perfect for Fields in this game. Again, they lost. Sorry, Jets fans, but for fantasy football purposes, we were really happy about what we saw. And you're right. I had him outside the top 12 this week, Justin Fields, and moving forward, depending on their games, it's going to be really hard to do that again. Like he's going to be inside the top 12 most weeks when we look forward to Jets and the Justin Fields led Jets. Who are they playing next week?
I don't even
Oh, let
know
me
offhand.
look. We're getting
Uh,
to it. Oh, they're at home against the
Bills.
Bills. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
fire them up. It was fun to watch. It was
No,
a good game.
definitely. And look, we've said that there are going to be times where you don't want to watch Justin Fields, that it's going to be ugly.
Turn it off.
Yesterday wasn't one of them. Yesterday was a really good Justin Fields, and bodes well to see that in his debut against the Steelers defense that we expected to be very good. They still might be,
Yeah,
but
I think they might be, but I don't know. But completion rate was the best mark since week 3 last year against the Chargers. 119.1 passer rating, highest for Fields since 2023. Yeah, and the Steelers defense didn't really come close to meeting, I think, their standards. So maybe we see that change. We got to talk about the Steelers here in a little bit, but I think one more I definitely want to hit right now. We have to talk about Daniel Jones at the top of the hour, Adam. We can't let him fall to overreaction Monday. He deserves to be at the top. Daniel Jones, truthers, please stand up. Because the stat that I heard from Red Zone was that he led 7 drives, scored on all 7. No QB this century has done that since, I think they said 91, 90, whatever it was. The Indianapolis Colts beat down on the Miami Dolphins 33-8. Lucas Oil Stadium won their first season opener since 2013, Adam. We can keep going. And Daniel Jones looked really good. I heard people talk about Peyton Manning, which was crazy. We don't have to go that far. 22 of 29 passing, 272, 1 touchdown for the Colts. And he actually looked really good in this game.
He did, but Miami is an absolute disaster, which I
but
think a
come
lot of us
on.
knew coming into the season. The Colts ran 70 plays. Miami ran 46. The Colts had the ball for 38 minutes and 43 seconds. But yeah, no, you give Jones credit because we know he's capable with this talent around him. I don't think he had this much talent ever with the
No, I think this is
Giants.
the best roster that he's ever played with.
Yeah, and he can run too. You know, he had 7 carries for 26 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. You're not
Mhm.
happy if you're Jonathan Taylor. If you have him, who had a good game, you would want more. He had 18 carries, 71 yards. He didn't play most of the fourth quarter, and he also had 3 catches for 27 yards. That's big too, because Taylor,
Yeah.
I think off the top of my head, I think he had 19 receptions last year. So with Jones in there, that should help him maybe be more involved in the passing game. The touchdowns will come for Taylor, but yeah, I mean
Yeah.
Tyler
18.
Warren.
You were right. 18
Yeah, okay,
receptions.
clear.
Yeah.
Um,
You.
I
Nice.
remember one that was I
Right
guess
off
there
the
was one
top.
taken away. And that's why I thought it
Wow.
was 19.
That's
Nah.
impressive, actually.
Tyler Warren, look, he was
Hey, he
another
looked
guy
good.
rising up draft boards,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes going as the 5th tight end off the board in a lot of leagues that I saw. I know I made sure in my last draft, I'm like, I have to get him, and I took him. 9 targets, 7 for 76. So yeah, you feel good about that. Michael Pittman too. He
Yeah,
might have
hey,
been on the bench for a
27-yard
lot of people.
touchdown. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
on the bench for me. Wasn't fun, but
And
we
then
live
Josh
and we
Downs
learn.
didn't play that much
Oh
too.
my
We know
gosh,
that.
yeah.
I mean, it could have been. Remember, he was coming off the injury, the hamstring injury. They also had a big lead where they didn't need to use as many 3 wide sets. So it's just something to keep an eye on going forward because he played 36 snaps in this game, and then Pittman was at 60, Pierce 58. So maybe in more competitive games, he's out there a little bit more because they basically were in control the entire way.
And Jones was efficient. Again, it's an overreaction Monday. I did write him up for the waiver wire that we didn't have. Looking back, we didn't have, quarterback injuries yesterday, but your second, a Bryce Young, who we're going to talk about here in a little bit, guys that maybe we think, hey, hopefully they take a step forward. If they don't, there's always going to be someone to turn to on the waiver wire. So he remains, kind of that low end quarterback guys that you're going to look at and say, you probably have better options. But if you're in a super flex format, he fits here as a starter. He's available in a lot of leagues. Again, we'll talk about him tomorrow, but he's got a tough week 2 matchup. So just be careful going up against the Denver Broncos. That's why we always say waiver wire. You've got one part where you look at week 1, but you also have to look ahead to the games that they have. But again, he was efficient, 22 of 29, 272 yards and a touchdown. Then he added those 26 rushing yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns as well. So it was fun to see. We just have to give it up for Daniel Jones. Come on. Maybe he's the
Oh
new
yeah,
Baker
he
Mayfield.
had a great
Could be
week.
fun. New Baker? You want to say it or no?
I'm not ready
No,
to
new
say that
Sam
yet.
Darnold? Okay. All right. Maybe next
Not
week.
yet. I mean, let's see what he does against Denver next week.
All right. Maybe next week. Maybe next week. We appreciate, as always, everyone hanging out with us. It is a great Monday, an overreaction Monday. Send us your questions, your comments, what you need to win tonight at K Valenzuela 17, at Adam Ronis over there on X. We'll fire up the phone lines here in a little bit as well. But let's get into Overreaction Monday. The first head coach fired. Feel like we already know who that might be from games yesterday. Should we overreact to the New York Giants? And Michael Penix fans, stand up. We're going to go through it next. Oh, yeah, we're bringing it to you today. Overreaction Monday. And you know what time it is. We're going to overreact. We can start that. Hey, shout out to our producers. Midseason form already. Michael Penix Jr. Fans maybe stand up. Maybe overall the Bucks really spoiled their potential win there with Michael Penix Jr. He was driving Atlanta. It was 60 yards in 57 seconds. and the field goal attempt went up and wasn't good. We had a lot of that yesterday, by the way, with those with some kicker issues, Adam. Not good, but Michael Penix Jr. had a little positivity there. I mean, we didn't see big plays, right? So from a fantasy perspective, you look at week 1, you say, okay, they lost to the Bucks. He had 24.02 fantasy points, though. Looking at ESPN scoring, and he was distributing the ball. He was using his legs. Finished with 298 yards and 21 yards on the ground, 1 touchdown on the ground as well. So I think he stays in our ranks, but wanted to shout him out for at least putting up 24.
Yeah, they didn't throw a lot downfield. And also in this game, Drake London left late with a shoulder injury. So that is definitely something we keep an eye on, because the one thing why people love Drake London late first round, early second round, is we saw it was only 3 games last year with Penix, but he was targeted heavily, 39 targets in those 3 games. And it continued in this one, 15 targets. Now it only turned into 8 for 55, but you love that usage there. And Kyle Pitts, I know you don't want to talk about him, but 7 for 59, 8 targets. So we figured he'd play a little bit of a bigger role because Darnell Mooney was out. We still don't know if Mooney will return next week. And Bijan Robinson didn't do much on the ground. And he had 12 carries and Tyler Algier at 10. But Robinson in the passing game, I mean, he took that, I think, like 50-yard touchdown early in the game on a pass and finished 6 for 100. So you're happy about that. But yeah, the Falcons had a chance to tie this game, and then Koo misses that field goal.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking. Again, I took him in Survivor, so I took the Bucks in Survivor.
I cannot believe you did that. A road team in a divisional game?
I wanted to make a play, I just wanted
on
to
a
do
line that was
something
like
different.
1.5. That is bold.
I had a gut feeling at it. You trust your gut, right? We always say
Okay.
that. You had a gut feeling. I took the Rams in another one too. It was not the one that we're in, but yeah, I liked it. I was down.
Okay.
Robinson did do his damage as a receiver, though. That was
Mhm.
something that I wanted to talk to you about, because he had a big enough day to keep all his fantasy managers pretty happy. 118 yards and a touchdown, but I wasn't expecting it the way that it happened, because he had 5 catches for the team high 94 yards and then only 24 yards on 12 carries on the ground. So when I looked, the Falcons were 6th in the NFL in rushing EPA last season, but finished with only 57 yards on the ground against Tampa Bay. And so we could talk about Tampa Bay's defense, that other side of it. But the Falcons averaged 2.1 yards per carry. So again, it was, he got it done. Bijan Robinson got it done. It was just surprising the way that it happened, because I thought I didn't think it would come through the air. I thought it would be on the ground for him.
Yeah, they had some offensive line issues.
Yeah.
They lost Caleb McGarry for the year. That was a big loss. They Storm Norton, another guy on their line that they lost. So that's probably why you didn't see the run game so effective. But hey, if they're gonna keep checking down to Bijan like that, that's big, and that's what you need to see. We need those 5, 6, 7 targets a game, and that's probably how they're gonna have to make up for as they adjust with their offensive line.
Yeah, I forgot about that McGarry injury, but otherwise good for the Atlanta Falcons. Well, sorry, you took a loss, but good for Michael Penix. He was probably your QB2, maybe super flex formats. I know is he on your bench in your second quarterback?
No, I didn't
For
get him.
single QB. Okay, I took him one time I paired him with an elite quarterback.
Yeah,
So
if you waited on
yeah,
your second quarterback, if you're in a league like that, that's probably where he was, where you weren't really counting on him. You're hoping that elite quarterback you took is the one to put in your lineup every week. But yeah, super flex leagues, I could see him being a second quarterback.
yeah, not bad, not bad. Overreaction Monday. Mike McDaniel, first head coach fired. Who says no? That looked
That
Adam,
was
it looked
really bad.
so bad. I couldn't I actually didn't even I couldn't even envision it being that bad, but the Colts came in and they said, "You know what? We're going to give it to you." And the Miami Dolphins, I mean, Tua Tagovailoa looked awful. He rarely looked like he was in any kind of rhythm. He was sacked 3 times, had 3 turnovers, and it was just they were at one point trailing 30-0 with like 6 minutes left in the game, I believe. Achan punched it in for a touchdown, so Achan managers were happy to at least get that. But we can go down the line. I mean, Tyreek Hill managers, it was brutal for him. You saw him on the sidelines, upset already. I just the vibes are bad in Miami. And Tua Tagovailoa, that was one of the things that we said, okay, if you're drafting Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, you obviously have to have expectations for them. But the other part of it, Adam, that we talked about was Tua Tagovailoa also has to be good. And so Tyreek Hill, I don't know if people saw, if you saw the camera pan to him, and he was just, I mean, he was complaining already and it's understandable. But he didn't show anything. And unfortunately, he caught 4 of 6 targets, 40 yards, 8 points on the day. And again, Tua turning the ball over 3 times didn't help. They struggled to establish rhythm, and it was a brutal day for Miami and
Well, everything will be
everyone.
fine once they get Darren Waller back. I think that's the
Oh,
key.
yeah. Right. Should I put him on the
uh,
waiver wire? Spend all your
yeah.
fab on Waller? What are we
Uh,
doing?
Tua was awful. The offensive line was terrible in pass protection. They had no pass rush. They were terrible in coverage. Like, there was really nothing positive to take out of this game.
No.
I guess just HN. At least he came through because he scored that touchdown late. So that was really it. But I think we all knew this going into the year. It felt really bad. Everything you were hearing out of Miami, it did not feel good. And HN started to slip in drafts a little bit because of the calf, and then he was a
Mhm.
guy going in the second round. But look, a lot of people didn't want Tyreek Hill. Like, a lot of drafts I was in, it was people who were drafting him. It was like third, fourth round, and it's like, all right, I'll take Tyreek Hill. What if he goes back to what he did 2 years ago? But it was like a reluctant click, I think, for many people.
Yes.
And even Jalen Waddle, like, he got banged up again in this game. He came back though. So
He's
it
always
it is one
always doing
game,
that.
but I don't think anyone feels good about Miami this year. I haven't heard anyone say anything like positive
No.
against the Dolphins this year. And all the vibes coming out of their camp were all negative.
Dolphins are at home against the Patriots for week 2, so maybe that's something we look at. But I mean, the seat has to be, if not hot, warm for Mike McDaniel, because it's just, I'm curious what some of the odds are. We never want people
He's
to
got
lose
to
their
be the
jobs.
first.
It's got to be close. And again, we don't want people to lose their jobs, but I
You
am
do, but
curious. Not get out of here. Stop. I
you
do not.
do.
I'm just saying it's Overreaction Monday. It feels like he could be one of the first head coaches fired this year if they keep going down like this. Brutal.
Yeah. So I was okay, this is from a few days ago. It was actually Dable was one, but I think that can't be. I
Mm,
think it's got to be
eh.
McDaniel.
Well, we can
That was
talk.
from a few days ago.
I mean, Russell Wilson, my other overreaction was that he should not start for the Giants in week 2. Again, an overreaction for a
Well,
reason, but
that there was
that
a report
didn't look
about
good.
that they said they did not commit to
Really?
Wilson, and there was also a report that they had plays installed for Jackson Dart if they needed it.
Oh,
So yeah, it feels like it's going to be a lot quicker going to Jackson Dart,
they
and
did
I
not
think
look good yesterday,
they
like
should just do it
lifeless.
at this point. You
They,
drafted the kid early, so
I don't know if they look at the schedule and they're trying to get him through the Eagles, maybe,
well,
or at
yeah,
least through a couple, because that's, I mean, it's going to be brutal the whole way around. But the first early half, right, of their schedule is like really
and
awful.
also with Andrew Thomas out, their
Hmm.
left tackle, they just never play well, and he was
I don't
out. So
I don't know if they
that's
can wait actually till the Eagles is October 9th, that first game, but they, maybe it's the Saints. They take on the Cowboys for week 2, then they take on the Chiefs, the Chargers maybe. Chargers Saints. I mean, Chargers did look good. We'll talk about that Friday night game, but then they have the Eagles, Broncos, Eagles again before facing the 49ers. But that's just what I said. They just didn't look like anything was going to happen. Brian Thomas Jr. managers, I mean, we can talk about him. He was visibly frustrated on the sidelines as well. But Wilson threw for just 168 yards, averaged 4.5 yards per attempt. And on pressure, it was even worse. He was 2 of 7 for 26 yards and he was sacked twice. So they scored a total of, what they have, 6 points in this game on
yeah.
9 possessions. It wasn't good. If it's not Jackson Dart, maybe Jameis Winston, and we'd like either of those two over Russell Wilson at this point for fantasy.
Yeah, Dable did not commit to Wilson next week. You usually don't see
Oh,
that, right?
okay.
So he he was given multiple opportunities to commit to Wilson, and he never did. He just
Mm,
basically did not put the game on Wilson. He said specifically, "This game isn't on Russell Wilson. It's not on Russell Wilson." Want to make that clear, but he didn't commit to him starting next week.
mm, mm. Who do you think? I This early, do you think it would be Jameis? Should I write
No, it
Jameis
would
up in
be
a waiver?
Dart. I mean,
You
you're
think it'd be
hearing a
Dart?
lot of
Okay.
positive things. Yeah, I think they would go to him.
All right. Well, they take on your Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys at home.
Coming off extended rest.
Yeah.
I want to
look
see
good.
so that look ahead line on Friday was Dallas -3. Now
Okay.
it's -3.5. Okay. Interesting.
3.5?
Yeah.
What's the total? 40.
44.5.
Okay. Interesting. Hey, your Cowboys looked they made me a little bit nervous last week when I took the
I think a
Eagles.
lot of people were surprised at how well they played
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
game that they
So,
could have won if CeeDee Lamb could catch the football.
oh my goodness. And a bigger day for Dak. That was the other part. Like seeing if you saw your fantasy scores with Dak, I don't be discouraged about that either because we talked about how I ranked him outside the top 12. I think he was right inside, maybe at 15, maybe at 16 if I remember correctly. It's not going to be like that every week. You know what I
Right.
mean?
It
That's
turned out to
brutal.
be the right decision. And I had to start Dak in a few leagues only because I didn't have a backup. And yeah, he was actually in this is 6 points for a passing touchdown. He was QB 28 this week.
Yeah,
But like
brutal.
you said, that's one of those games where you look at the stats and you go, oh, okay. But if you watch the game, he played very well. He was
He
victimized
did.
by drops, and also Javonte Williams took 2 short touchdowns away. So
Yep.
it's going to happen. But yeah, it'll be better going forward.
Cowboys up to -5.5 on DraftKings.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. You know
Oh,
what?
I like that.
I figured it was gonna move, man. I knew it.
Let's go.
Uh,
You
should have
okay?
taken the 3 when it was there.
Oh, I
But
thought
you
you
don't.
did take it. That's okay.
No,
That's
no.
okay.
I saw it. I saw it. They have the quick look ahead lines like right after the game. I was like,
Yeah.
really? I was like, Dallas -3 after the way they played. I'm like, at home and extended rest against the Giants? That's weird. And then
Yeah. We'll take them.
obviously the Giants performed like that yesterday, and then more money's going to come in on Dallas.
Let's go week 1 winners and losers here. We could maybe talk about Emeka Egbuka for this whole segment, but we're going
Yes.
to talk about our one win for the week, but we're going to talk about Emeka Egbuka. I want to mention Tyler Warren. Don't worry about the Bengals receivers, but we will talk about them. Trevor Lawrence, Brian Thomas Jr. We're going to go through it here coming up next. You might have had some duds from maybe some of your superstar veterans. We'll talk about AJ Brown. We'll talk about a few others. Xavier Worthy getting hurt, but at least, Adam, we have a bright spot of Emeka Egbuka that we get to talk about today because it was great. I mean, Baker Mayfield was able to connect with his rookie Emeka Egbuka. It came together in what we hoped it would look like for week 1 for this team, right? Chris Godwin is not going to be out there. Mike Evans, of course, is going to get his, but for Emeka Egbuka to walk away with 2 touchdowns in his NFL debut, it was pretty special. I know that Todd Bowles came out and said he's everything we thought since he's been there. He played with so much poise, and Baker Mayfield played with so much poise as well. So seeing that connection finished with, I think I remember 4 catches, right?
Yeah.
Team high 67 yards in that game. We can talk about Tampa as a whole. That's a whole different conversation. They were able to come out and win that game, but yeah, Egbuka. At least we had that bright spot for week 1, and he was a really good rookie debut for him.
Yeah, it's always nice to get a bold prediction right. I said, wrote an article this week, and I said Egbuka would finish as a top 10 receiver this week.
Ooh,
He's
nice.
5th right now. So, assuming, unless like they go crazy tonight, like
Yeah,
Baltimore
Justin
and Buffalo last
Jefferson.
night, then
Sorry. Yeah.
that should be good. But yeah, look, the thing was Baker only completed 17 passes, so that's why you only see the 6 targets. Evans had 8, he had 6, Shepard had 6, Bucky Irving had 4. So there'll be better days where they pass a little bit more. And because Baker Mayfield was shaky, especially early on in this game. Overall, like you'll see 3 touchdowns, you're like, oh, but it was only 5.2 yards per pass. So it was a little shaky. Again, new offensive coordinator. They've had some issues on the offensive line as well. Because Bucky Irvin struggled to run the ball in this game. You love the usage, though. He had 18 touches. You didn't really see much of Rashad White, just 2 carries. So, yeah, Bucks were able to pull this game out. And Egbuka is going to play a big role. I know some people are like, well, let's see what happens when Chris Godwin and McMillan come back. But they've been just speaking so positively about him. Everyone, the GM, the coach, the players, Baker Mayfield, like every comment you've heard come out. So as long as he goes out and plays very well, like I really don't see his role diminishing. And you still have to worry about when does Godwin come back? Is it week 4, week 5, week 6? How does he look? We know how good Godwin is. He's been, one of the best receivers, and he was on pace for a great year last year, but he's still coming off a pretty significant injury where he had to have the second procedure, and McMillan can be gone potentially half the year. So I don't think you worry about that now. And if Egbuka performs at a high level, I don't really see them diminishing his role.
Yeah, I think I read yesterday that they're eyeing a week 5 return for Chris Godwin. But again, we talk about ramp up period, veteran, older players coming off injuries is always something that takes a while for them to get fully up to speed. And if you saw Emeka Egbuka, you're happy with it. No, where when we look at him too, I think the only thing that I saw is that we're going to eventually need to see 300 passing yards from Baker Mayfield, not 167. This was first game of the season though. It's one of those things where maybe we talked about regression from Baker Mayfield going into this season because he had so many highs last year. I mean, career highs last season. So 167, it wasn't beautiful. But having 2 touchdowns from the rookie in week 1 was definitely something that you were happy about. Same with, we mentioned earlier Tyler Warren, but want to mention Tyler Warren again because he was the number 14, just a reminder, number 14 pick overall, highest drafted tight end for the Colts since Dallas Clark in 2003. And when we saw this, especially with Tyler Warren, we said they're going to use him because you don't take a tight end that high without having plans and hopes for him to help this team win. And so the connection, I mean, it looked really good. He caught the opening drive, I think he caught 3 passes for
3 for
43
42, I
yards.
think.
It
Yeah.
was crazy. And then he finished with 7 catches for 76. And so we talk about targets, we talk about volume, right? And that's what we look at with Tyler Warren. So again, last year the Colts finished with the second fewest tight end receiving yards in the NFL. And if they've found this number 1 tight end, they can utilize him and continue. And we're going to continue seeing him get peppered with targets. And Tyler Warren managers are going to be really happy with that overall.
Yeah, led the team in targets. I mean, it's clear he's going to be a big part, the focal point of the passing game. So you're really happy if you drafted Warren. In the earlier drafts, he was a better value. At least in every draft I did, he really started to move up draft boards where, again, people were aggressive and taking him as the 5th, 6th tight end off the board. And that might prove to be extremely smart.
Yeah, he was moving up towards the last couple of weeks. People, because it was very close early when we were drafting between him and Colston Loveland, and it was
Oh,
kind of
that
a flip
gap
of the coin.
really
Oh
separated
man,
over
and
the
maybe
last
maybe
2 weeks.
maybe he shows us something tonight. But yeah, then it was obvious Tyler Warren was going to be that guy. And man, I, if Daniel Jones continues to perform that way too, I mean, Tyler Warren still has to prove himself with a lot. He's got to do a lot more to solidify himself. But if you see Daniel Jones continue the way that he did yesterday, and he continues to get those targets, you're going to be happy. He's going to outperform that ADP, that average draft position that he was at. We've got a lot of losers that we can pick through. Unfortunately, I hate that word. We've got a lot of guys that didn't show up for us. Where would you rather Trevor Lawrence and Brian Thomas Jr. or the Bengals wide receivers?
Let's go with the Bengals.
Yeah, I don't think we need to worry, but it is not fun when you look at the Bengals wide receivers and they only had just the Bengals in general only had 141 yards of offense. Burrow, just 113 passing, I believe.
I mean, this just brutal.
It was bad. It was bad. Jamar Chase,
You're
T.
up.
Higgins were inside. Just to hand up, we're inside my top 12 for wide receivers.
I mean,
In this
they
game.
should be every week. It really doesn't
Yep.
even matter with the matchup. So again, it sucks if you drafted Chase number 1 overall, but I've said this before. Chase last year had 95 yards and no touchdowns the first 2 weeks of the season. How did he finish? He was fine. So there's no reason to panic. It just was one of those games where, again, they just don't play well in Cleveland. Burrow has a bad history against them. But we were hoping that with them playing in the preseason that these slow starts would be over with. Now they were able to pull out a win somehow. I don't know how. I don't think
don't
they
either.
didn't. Their drives in the second half were brutal. I don't even know if they had a drive more than 4 or 5 plays. It was that bad. They ran 49 plays in this game. Cleveland had 71. It was so bad. They averaged 2.9 yards per play. The Bengals, with all these weapons against the Browns, 2.9 yards per play. So the offensive line wasn't good. It was just they were fortunate to escape. It looked good early on for Chase Brown. Massive volume, but still only 23 touches that turned into 51 yards. So he saved his day with a touchdown. You mentioned Chase, just 2 for 26. Higgins, 3 for 33. And the touchdown went to Noah Fant.
Of course. Don't do this. Don't pick Noah Fant up off the waiver wire. Let me
Yeah,
just say
there's
that.
better tight ends this
There's
week.
better tight ends. I know sometimes you look at touchdowns and you just say, hey, he scored a touchdown last week. I'm going to go get him. There's way better tight ends that you can go and get that could produce throughout the entirety of the season. FantasyLife.com for my waiver wire article. It is there now. But yeah, T. Higgins, the 3 receptions, 4 targets, 33 yards. Again, it was just, we know that the Bengals don't play well early in the season. Even if they're playing in the preseason, at least they got the win, so they're not having to start 0-1. But let me just, to make people happy about it, let me just say this. For week 2, they're going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So redemption should be coming through. But yeah, managing 141 net yards and kind of limiting the production of all the skill position players on the Bengals, that's what happened yesterday. And so you shake your head, you shake it off. Hey, the Taylor Swift song, by the way, Adam. Shake it off.
That
You
I
know that
actually
one?
know.
Okay, there we go. Look at us. Look at us. You shake it off, and then we say, all right, it's on week 2, and they are taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. So you hope that there is a bounce back there as well. I want to continue going through more week 1 winners and losers, and going through some questions that we had answered in week 1 as well, talking about Jacksonville's backfields for their running backs, talking about James Conner, Trey Benson. We're going to go through it next. Bill Croskey-Merritt. Jacory Croskey-Merritt, Adam, able to walk away. Happy. That's so funny. I never know when those are going to pop up. Almost just as terrifying as when we had the bill drop. But he impressed enough in the preseason to say, for this team to say, hey, we're good without Brian Robinson Jr. Their top back the last, three seasons, I want to say. And Jacory Croskey-Merritt, Bill, was able to walk away, carry the ball 10 times, 82 yards, and a touchdown. And he looked good. I think it was a lot easier. You tweeted this, I believe. It was a lot easier to start Jacory Croskey-Merritt when we saw that Chris Rodriguez was going to be a healthy and active, healthy scratch in this game. And so if you were a Croskey-Merritt manager, once you saw that news, hopefully you were able to say, okay, because we weren't on at the time, but hopefully you said, all right, well, that means it's going to be Jacory Croskey-Merritt and it's going to be Austin Eckler. But yeah, he showed he can do it all.
Yeah, because I was not starting him in a league, and then when I saw that news, I did put him in the lineup. We saw 33 snaps for Eckler, 23 for Croskey-Merritt. He only ran 7 routes. We know Eckler's going to be a big part of the passing game there, so it was definitely a good sign. You know, you would think that he would be seeing more snaps potentially next week, and you know, it does hurt though that you have a running quarterback like Jaden Daniels. He's going to take away a lot of touches from this backfield.
Yeah, does hurt a little bit, but I think he's a perfect fit for this Cliff Kingsbury offense, and that's something that we talked about. Hey, by the way, Deebo, should we shout out Deebo Samuel for what he was? I mean, for what he was able to do. I think I had him written up. Yeah, like the connection between him. He dropped 22.6 points on the Giants defense week 1. We saw, again, Cliff Kingsbury utilize him. He caught 7 of a team high 10 targets for 77 yards. And he honestly, he looked good. Scored on a 19-yard rushing attempt. And yeah, shout out to Deebo. I don't know if a lot of people started him, but
I would think some people did. I mean, he was drafted, wide receiver 4 range, but I could see people getting him in the lineup. And Terry McLaurin, only 4 targets, did miss a potential long play that would have made his box score look better, but also missed a lot of camp. So you figured that was going to happen. But yeah, Deebo Samuel, I think I only have him in best ball, but I did warm up to him just because the price. I thought he was just going to go way higher, and he was basically like right around that wide receiver 40 area.
Yeah, it felt like everything was baked into his ADP, where you assumed not as much risk as if you were if you were drafting him a few rounds higher, right? I think the age came into play. I think the injuries from last season came into play. Going to a new team came into play, and then you had an ADP that was kind of palatable for him this season. So shout out to who would have thought in week 1 we would be shouting out Deebo Samuel. Look at how times change, Adam. Don't you love it?
Yeah, again, look good.
Don't you love it? We're going to continue on here. I will want to talk about James Conner, Trey Benson. Did that backfield look how you expected? We'll talk about them in the water cooler.
It was a little surprising, yeah. I mean, look, we heard a lot that Trey Benson was going to be used more, and even Conner said it. He basically said that they were going to use both.
I didn't think he was telling the truth.
I know, and a lot of passing down work though for Benson. That's the concern for Conner.
I know. Well, let's talk about them more. We're gonna break down James Conner, Trey Benson. It is time for that fantasy life water cooler. So we're gonna go through the news over the weekend. We've got a lot of injuries to go through. We're gonna take your calls as well. Monday Night Miracle, tell us what you need and call in. We're gonna go to the water cooler next. You know what time it is. Time for that fantasy life water cooler. And we are here to go through all the pieces of news that we got over week one, over the weekend, go through the injury updates, and break down more of these games going into Monday Night Football tonight. We want to know your Monday Night Miracles. Adam, I'm in one in the stacked league going up against Sealy. And I need basically a low scoring, nonchalant game. That's what I need. I'm up 26.72 points. He's got Justin Jefferson and DeAndre Swift. Ugh, it'll
Well, the
be
way this
close.
week is gone, I could see you potentially winning that, right?
Well, let's hope so because I looked at that lineup for the stacked league and my team was not stacked. Let me tell you that. It was a little bit brutal. But that's why we're here. Tell us your Monday Night Miracles, what you need to win and any questions that you might have. 888-963-2682 or press that new call in button on the Sirius XM app. News and notes, everything that you need to know heading into week 2. We're still recapping obviously week 1, but make sure you go to fantasylife.com. Use all the tools. The utilization report is going to be live today, which is phenomenal. Cannot recommend it enough. Tier 1, Tier 2 subscriptions, you can get 20% off using code SXM20 at checkout. We had a lot of news over the weekend that I just kind of want to get to before we get into some of the injuries that we saw yesterday, starting with Quinshon Judkins. I'm sure you and Gene Clemens talked about this yesterday, but Quinshon Judkins was signed to a fully guaranteed 4-year, $11.4 million contract. And this is 3 weeks after, the everything that went on. 3 weeks after everything went on, we said, okay, maybe they sign him. When they do, we'll figure out when they're able to play him. So he was the 36th pick in the NFL draft. Just a reminder. And they're saying Adam Schefter has reported, or over the weekend reported, things could change, of course, that he expects him to be out there week 2. And so I'm surprised that he would be out there so early, but I guess they know that he can go out there and just kind of start right away. He is scheduled to meet with the NFL this week about its investigation, but there is a, quote, real possibility from Adam Schefter that Judkins will make his NFL debut against the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday, which I'm surprised. But if you're a Samson manager, you don't like to hear it. Jerome Ford, if you thought you could start him for a couple weeks early, you're not happy about it either.
Yeah, I think if you have Ford, it's worse for you because we saw Samson heavily involved, especially in the passing game yesterday. So, and Ford barely did anything. He only had one target. So I think Ford, that's it. Judkins obviously will come in and he's probably going to be the early down back, primary back. I'm interested to see what role Samson plays because, again, he looked pretty good. So it's probably both of them, but Judkins long term would be the guy you want more. He was the second round pick, and it could take him some time. And we also have to see, when the suspension comes as well. So Samson, you still hold and probably even potentially play him next week. But I think if it's Jerome Ford, that he's probably a cut.
It'll be interesting to see. I don't know where to rank him yet, but where rankings have Quinshon Judkins, because if they're ready to just put him out there and just hope that he's able to go, then it's something that we have to take into consideration. So again, unsure yet, Quinshon Judkins, but he was signed to the 4-year, $11.4 million deal. And this was, after the incident in South Florida, late July. And so it looks like he could potentially be going for week 2, but we'll keep an eye on that one. Jameson Williams, we can talk about the Lions overall, how they did not look amazing, but Jameson Williams at least went into that game with some money in his pocket, Adam. 3-year deal, he got a new deal, 3-year deal worth up to $83 million. And it was the 3-year extension. And I think they announced this on Sunday morning, I think. So he's signed.
I think it was Saturday night. You were probably sleeping.
Well, okay, Sunday morning for some, Saturday night for others, whatever. Just depends on what you were doing. But that signs him through the 2029 season. Haven't seen any, terms or anything like that. But yeah, I think that was good for him. 24 years old, coming off that first 1,000-yard receiving season, and he's now entering the 4th year of his rookie contract, which included that 5th-year option. So good for him. Didn't do much yesterday. No one really did. The Lions, it A little bit scary, but I'm hoping that's just an overreaction to what we saw because they did not, yeah, they didn't look as good as you would have hoped for their first game.
Yeah, offensive line was pretty bad, and they just never could get into a rhythm. And Green Bay was in control the entire way. And look, we've said that with the change in offensive coordinator, there was a little concern. And a lot of these guys were all being drafted early. And there was no way they're all going to return their value on ADP. I mean, you had Gibbs going top 3, Montgomery going around 6 or 7, Laporta going around 6, 7, 8, St. Brown round 1, early round 2, Williams round 5. So there's no way unless they return to the explosive offense they have been the last 2 years, and they still could. Again, it's 1 week,
Yeah.
but the early signs were not good for Detroit yesterday.
No, I mean, Jared Goff, the offense generated 246 yards, 100, that's 163 less than they averaged in 2024. Bright spot, if you want, Jahmyr Gibbs, maybe the Isaac Tesla catch. That's really what made it close because the final
Yeah, but he
score was
barely
27-13.
played, though.
No, I know,
Yeah.
but I'm saying if you squint, it was fun to see. I'm not saying go out and get him on the waivers and start him, but 27-13, that touchdown's the only thing that made it look bearable, a little bit bearable. It was a nice touchdown catch.
It was, but yeah, because we started to see him move up draft boards too, and I just didn't get it. I'm like,
Yeah,
wait,
it's
how?
tough. You can't. It'll be tough to start him. It was fun unless there's an
You
injury.
can't. Like, to me, the only way you can roster him is if you have 20 roster spots and you're like holding on because of injury, because there's just too much here. There's Laporta, St. Brown, Gibbs, Jameson. Like,
Mhm. I agree.
how is he gonna perform? So, but some people might see that touchdown and be like, oh my God, he's good. I got to go get him. No, he's not playing enough. But yeah, Gibbs, I mean, this
He
is
had
where
a
your PPR came into play. 10
yeah.
receptions for 31 yards.
That was insane. Unprecedented in NFL history, by the way. Did you see that stat? So the
Yeah.
the 10 for 31 lowest yardage total ever for a player who caught at least 10 passes in a game. Brutal. But
Look,
PPR.
if you have Gibbs, you'll take it because it could have been way worse. So at least he got you like, 14, 15 points in a PPR. So you'll take it.
I think his longest run was 14 yards
Yes, it
in
was. And
that
he had
game.
19 total yards rushing.
Yikes. You just hope that you're knocking off a little bit of rust with the Lions. Because every top down, you were not happy with those performances. It was brutal.
Yeah, again, there were a lot of bad performances across the board in week 1, and it's going to happen.
Feels like it was everyone that I started. Do you think they all got together and they said, "Hey,
Probably. It feels
week
that
one,
way too for me. I mean, I had some big performances, but the totality of leagues, it wasn't a good week.
they all got together. They said, "Hey, we can't. We gotta mess this up a little bit. It's week one. We don't
Let's create some
overreact.
stress.
We don't victory lap yet. It's just we've got a long-ish season ahead. So hopefully they are able to get it together. Feels like it could be a long season for the Kansas City Chiefs. Xavier Worthy managers. Ugh, Adam. When that happened, getting zeros from Xavier Worthy in a spot where at least for me, and I'm sure a lot of people listening, you needed something. So zeros in a game that the weekend hadn't even started. That's how your weekend started. It was bad, Adam. So he's expected to miss time with a dislocated shoulder. He's going to wear a brace when he returns. We have no timeline. All we've heard is that he is going to miss time with this dislocated shoulder, according to Ian Rappaport. It's not clear how much further tests, if they show that the injury to be more serious, then we're probably going to know, and maybe he needs surgery. That's the worst case scenario, but you always want to put it out there just in case. So absolutely brutal because I was definitely drafting Xavier Worthy with the knowledge with what we knew about Rashee Rice getting suspended at some point during the season. So now you're down Xavier Worthy, you're down Rashee Rice another 5 games, and Hollywood Brown, I guess, if he's on your waiver wire, maybe that's somewhere you want to go. But that was just a horrible way to start that game. It was early in the game too. He did nothing. He
Yeah,
couldn't.
I
He got
thought
hurt.
I only had him in one league, and then I opened up another one and saw he was in my lineup. I'm like, great. 2 zeros. Awesome.
Brutal.
Yeah, now it just comes down to how much time he's going to miss. And also, if when he is able to return, how does he play with this brace? He's not the biggest wide receiver if he
No.
takes another big hit. So this time it was his teammate, Travis Kelsey. So
Well,
I
they
think
keep
what
doing
happened
that.
is, remember how excited Taylor Swift
God.
was when they drafted Xavier Worthy? Remember?
Don't
Did
say
you
it.
see that clip?
Yes. Yeah, I tweeted it. I tweeted out
So
a
I'm
video.
sure
Did very
Kelsey was
well.
like, "Oh yeah, you like this guy? Let me knock him out."
We can't be spreading rumors like this on the
It's just
radio.
my speculation. It's not a rumor. It's just speculation. That's all.
It was the friendly fire has been brutal for the Kansas City Chiefs because remember Patrick Mahomes was the one that hurt Isaiah Pacheco last year.
No,
And
wasn't it
now
Rice?
or Rice. I'm sorry, I don't know why I
Yeah.
said Pacheco. Rashi Rice, and so now you've got Xavier Worthy out. That's just brutal. That was
Yeah.
crazy
Like
though. That
we
Taylor
keep
Swift did
saying, we
say,
want to see Mahomes with all these receivers healthy, and it
and then they
never
said,
happens.
no, no, we're not going to do that. And now we're not going to get it for a little while, anyways. So, again, we're going through waiver pieces and everything tomorrow, but it does look like if you want early look, fantasylife.com, my waiver wire article is live over there. And Hollywood Brown did turn in some good fantasy points. And again, let's hope he stays healthy, because if he doesn't, I don't know what we're going to talk about. But again, he was able to put up 10 receptions, 99 yards, no touchdowns or anything, but he was close to 20 fantasy points over on ESPN.
Yeah, it's
I know.
they need some help. I mean, we might be looking at Juju Smith-Schuster in deeper formats.
Should they trade for Tyreek Hill? Could that be fun?
Everyone's saying that, but who
They're not
knows?
Bring him back. I mean, it could be fun. Why not?
I mean, I'm sure Tyreek would be a lot more
He
happier.
would. I think he would be. Where would he? He would be happy, I think, with the Carolina Panthers. No?
I don't know. Did you see Bryce Young?
Jacksonville?
I don't know
Stop,
about that. Did you
No,
see
no.
Trevor Lawrence? Oh boy.
Oh my gosh. The phone number, don't worry, we're gonna talk about them. The phone number to call in, 888-963-2682, or press that new call-in button on the Sirius XM app. I've seen no updates yet. You know, today's going to be the day that we start to get updates coming in for these injured players. Wow, Adam, it feels like we do this every year. Feels like there were a lot of key guys that went down. Drake London looks like he's day-to-day with a shoulder sprain, so that's better than what it could have been. Waiting on news for George Kittle. At least he scored a touchdown for you, put up some points before he went out. Juwan Jennings, they're both expected to have MRIs. I believe today was the last thing I read, but George Kittle left the first half with a hamstring injury. Wide receiver Juwan Jennings left after hurting his shoulder at some point in the second half. So we're going to figure out the extent of their injuries here soon. Evan Ingram left the game yesterday. Brock Bowers, that's a big one with his left knee injury. Hopefully he's able to come back.
He said he was fine after the game. I mean,
okay,
you never trust players, but he said he was fine. And I think even Pete Carroll said he wanted to go back in, but the training staff told him no.
We are not trusting Pete Carroll in his injury reports.
Oh, I know. But I'm just saying,
I know. Hopefully he's good, though. I wrote out it. Go check out this article because Michael Mayer was interesting when Brock Bowers did go out, but here's hoping. I just think back on Pete telling us, oh, everything's fine.
The Kittle one is absolutely deflating because Kittle, well, number one, he got ruled out pretty quickly, and hamstring injuries, you're usually missing time. So now it depends. Is it 2 to 3 weeks or is it longer? So if you have Kittle, I would be prepared to be without him. But this was shaping up for him to just absolutely eat in this offense. He left early, I think, second quarter, right? He had 4 targets, 4 catches, 25 yards, and a touchdown. And this is what we were saying. The appeal of Kittle is that he could be the number one target in this offense this year with everything that's going on at wide receiver. So you see that start, you're happy, you're like, here we go. And I know some people are going to say, oh, Kittle's always hurt. He gets banged up, but he really doesn't miss a lot of time when you look at it. Look at the games played the last few years. 15, 16, 15, 14. That's not bad. That's missing 2 games here, 3 games here. It's not that bad. I mean, he's played at least 14 games every year in his career except 1. So, I hate when people are like, well, you should have known he's always hurt. He gets banged up because he's very physical, but he doesn't miss a lot of time. Mm-hmm. So that's like that's someone who doesn't have him. It's like, oh yeah, I didn't draft because of that. It's like, what? That makes no sense because like anybody could get hurt. But yeah, that's going to be a big loss, especially if you didn't take a backup tight end like me in the league with Kittle.
Okay.
So
I will say, and we're talking through it tomorrow. There's actually
there
is
pretty some good tight ends.
They're pretty. If you needed a tight end this week, now is the week to spend some money. If
you just have to hope.
If you need a running back this week, you're kind of
you're in trouble.
Out of luck a little bit.
You just have to hope that these tight ends are not the Isaiah Likely trap from last year.
I hope they're not. There's a few. There's a few. So hopefully if you play tight end roulette that you're able to get the right one. Let's go out to the phone lines really quick here. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us. 888-963-2682 or press that new calling button on the Sirius XM app. Let's go out to Jace in Texas. Jace, what do you got for us?
Hey guys, good talking. Thanks for taking my call. So I'm down by 2, we'll say 3 points. It's going to come down to I've got Caleb Williams. The other guy has DeAndre Swift. What do y'all think my chances are?
By 2, I want to say Caleb will be good enough to get you through that. I mean, Swift though on the other side, we talked about how they don't have real. I mean, he's running pure. It's going to go through him on the ground. I would say Jace gets a win here, but it could be close.
Yeah, it could be close. Up. Usually when you have the quarterback, you feel really good, but this is a first game in a new offense against a pretty good Minnesota defense. So, hey, as long as Caleb throws a couple touchdowns and doesn't throw one to Swift, you should be okay.
You should be all right. I like that one, but we'll be thinking about that one tonight. Let's go out to JT in Texas again. Shout out to Texas. Let's go out to JT in Texas. What do you got for us?
Yes, good morning. I kind of on the same subject there. I need Swift to go under his projected 12.0 or 12 and some change. What are the chances of that happening?
It looks like are we just going to be rooting for Swift to go under all of these? Because I'm also facing Swift. So I think between Jace, JT, and myself, we just need to get together and make sure we maybe manifest a not big game for DeAndre Swift. 12.2, I think is what he said. I mean, what are your expectations? If he finds the end zone, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, the problem is they just don't have other running backs right now. So I'm expecting Roschon Johnson to be out. It looks like Kyle Monangai will play, but he's a 7th-round rookie who also missed.
Wow.
Who? What'd you say?
I was surprised. I thought he was hurt.
It looks like he's going to go, but they're very thin at running back. So you're going to see a lot of Swift. So that's the only issue. So, I mean, 12, I think Swift should be able to get that. I mean, he could catch 3-4 passes, and he's going to get most of the volume. So I would expect him to exceed 12 points in a PPR.
Oh, brutal. But only hopefully, maybe not for Jason JT, but
there were 22 running backs to exceed 12 points in a PPR this week.
But not DeAndre Swift. Or maybe if you need DeAndre Swift, then just think it's it's opposite day, and we hope that you are able to get it with him. But we're going to continue on. We're going to keep taking your phone calls throughout the show, but we do have to talk about maybe some things we did not see coming. Have to talk about the Denver Broncos, if we should overreact to that performance, and more coming up here next. You can't count on much these days, but you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. That's right, football fans. Watch your local NFL game live every Sunday on CBS and Paramount Plus all season long. This year's schedule is absolutely stacked with rivalries and revenge games, including the next chapter of the epic Bills-Chiefs saga. So stay connected to it all on any device at home or on the go. Visit ParamountPlus.com/NFL to get started today and count on Sundays for another must-see season of the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. We haven't had a Taylor Swift song in forever, Adam. I swear. Look at us getting it lined up with the drop. Oh, it's a great day. Overreaction Monday. This is great.
Yeah, the show has been so good without these Taylor Swift songs, and now all of a sudden.
It's just one. It's just, you had to be nice to her after you said that because she liked Xavier Worthy, or she was excited that they drafted him, that Travis Kelce had to go out and get him hurt. We had to make up for that.
Yeah, I think so. So now we got to get back on our good side, right?
Yeah. Well, friend of the show, obviously. We're trying to get invited to the wedding, have her on. Could you imagine? No. Anyway. We're continuing on here. Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam Ronis with you. Fantasy Life on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. Always want to remind you, fantasylife.com. That utilization report is going to drop from Dwayne McFarland here this morning, and you want to make sure you go check it out. Use that code SXM20. Gets you 20% off any Tier 1 or Tier 2 subscription. Just hitting, because the Deebo Samuel rejoin. We got to hit Deebo Samuel one more time. And Washington, I know when you look at it, Jaden Daniels, overall, just everyone, it was like, okay, they did fine. They got through it. Deebo Samuel dropping 22.6 points on that Giants defense. And again, feels like he was a good fit with Cliff Kingsbury. Excited to see what he's able to do going forward. But if you were between Deebo Samuel, Stephon Diggs in drafts, for at least week one, Deebo Samuel was the winner of that. 7 of a team high, 10 targets he was able to catch for 77 yards. And he scored on a 19-yard rush attempt. So, they were manufacturing touches for him. It was good. It was good to see him do that.
Yeah, interested to see if they draw up or design more runs for him. But I thought he looked solid in the preseason, and definitely a good start for Deebo Samuel.
Hanging on to Chris Rodriguez, just in case, right? You don't want to be. I know that he was the healthy and active, and it wasn't the way that you wanted it to go, because we were thinking, hey, maybe this is a 3-headed monster in this backfield. But again, we know it's an overreaction Monday. We don't want to overreact too much, just in case. Chris Rodriguez, I think, still hang on to him. Jacory Croskey-Merritt was able to come away with a good game. Austin Eckler, you were playing him if you had him as well. We know he's always going to be involved in that passing game. But if you do have Chris Rodriguez, just in case they start to dial up different things, or if one of those guys get hurt, he's the next man up.
Yeah, I think with 16 roster spots, you probably could move on, right? Because there could be someone available, and the fact that he didn't play week one doesn't bode well. I don't know if they're going to change that going forward. So it depends on what's available and what your roster is, but I could see situations where you move on.
There's not a lot of running backs on the waiver wire.
Yeah, this week is going to be
it's
really
a
bad.
little bit brutal. So that's
unless
kind of why
you're
I say it.
Unless you're like in a real shallow league, right?
Yeah,
Like
10
Dylan
team
Sampson, maybe,
yeah.
right? But
Yeah,
there were no. As of right now, there's no injuries that I recall from the running back position this week. It's receivers, tight ends.
Naturally, just like last season.
That's not what we want to see.
Oh man, but that's why I say that is, if you're if you were in the 20-round drafts like we talk about, he's someone that you just hang on to. We see if they change anything moving forward. But yeah, I mean, if you have a Dylan Sampson, again, my waiver wire article is live on the website fantasylife.com, so you can go and check that out. But there's not a lot of options if you need a running back this week. So that's why I say maybe be a little bit cautious and hang on to him. Again, we're going through, didn't see that coming here, presented by Xfinity. You get introducing the 5-year price guarantee, one consistent internet price for the next 5 years guaranteed. Did you see Bo Nix and this Denver Broncos team looking like that coming? Because I did not. They were able to walk away with a win, and that's that's important. But Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos, we thought, going up against Cam Ward and the Titans, a rookie quarterback. I think it was good for the Broncos that they had their defense, because Bo Nix turning the ball over 3 times. It was the first lost fumble of his NFL career. Also threw 2 interception passes on throws that he just had. There was no reason to be doing what he was doing. So overall, it was a little bit disappointing to see that offense looking like that. But Cortland Sutton was able to walk away, and you were happy with it. But Nix scoring like around 6.8 fantasy points on ESPN. It wasn't good, especially when he didn't face that much pressure in general. So it was just odd to see. I did not see that one coming.
They were very fortunate to play a rookie quarterback on the road making his NFL debut, because they would have lost to many other teams. They tried to give this game away numerous times. Tennessee did not want to take it. Tennessee was 2 for 14 on 3rd down, 0 for 1 on 4th down. They just couldn't do anything offensively. And yeah, Denver is really fortunate, because the one thing we saw from Nix last year in that second half is he didn't make the mistakes. There were a lot of mistakes in this game. And Denver turned it over 4 times, too. And I don't think Tennessee did lose 2 fumbles. No interceptions for Ward. But yeah, it was a pretty bad performance by Denver. And if you're a fan of them, you're happy they escaped with the W. They were the leading team selected in the Circa Survivor pool, so those people are very happy as well. But this was not a good performance by the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, you were sweating it a little bit, and he did not start the season off hot. Again, thankfully, the Broncos defense looks like they're just going to be as advertised, which is really, really good. Playing a rookie in Cam Ward, making his NFL debut, like you said, limited the Titans to 133 total yards. Ward was sacked 6 times, forced two turnovers as well, and the Titans averaged 2.4 yards per play. Also, the Denver Broncos, Sean Payton just not really liking our fantasy teams either, because I'm gonna say that didn't expect, RJ Harvey getting 6 carries, J.K. Dobbins getting 16. Harvey finished with 70 yards, and J.K. Dobbins finished with 63 and 1 touchdown. So again, something to watch out for. But I was like, we need more.
Yeah, I think you definitely wanted more from Harvey. I mean, you love the efficiency, 6 for 70. So you need to see him touch the ball more. And I think that will come. We kind of heard that it was going to be Dobbins early on, the veteran. And Harvey has that explosive ability,
Yeah.
which they're going to need. So I think it will get better for him.
Here's hoping, right? Because I think I actually looked through, I only have one piece of Bo Nix in redraft. So that wasn't fun to find out. But overall, he was going in that range of drafts where we said, Patrick Mahomes, Bo Nix, Kyler Murray, it was one of those, not like a quarterback dead zone where we would have just rather have gotten wide receivers, running backs in that range. But it was disappointing to see him start that way from the season that he had last year. But it's just the first game, right? We're just overreacting over here.
You're going to
Right.
see a lot of teams start slowly, but you want to make sure that he's not having that sophomore slump that you see a lot of quarterbacks have now that teams have more film and they studied them. So that's something to keep an eye on with Bo Nix.
We're going to continue on. We're talking with Jonathan Von Tobel here. We're talking through betting lines. We're going through some early previews for week 2, talking through Monday Night Football as well. We're going to do all of that here coming up next. Oh, we're playing some bangers today, Adam. I know it's a treat for the people here. And another treat that we have, though, is Jonathan Von Tobel here talking to us about best bets for tonight, early lines for week 2. You can hear him as the on-air host betting analyst at VSiN. Find him on Money Moves, Countdown to Kickoff, and Live Bet Sunday. Jonathan, we are so excited to have you here with us. How you doing?
I'm good. I think we're all good, right? Football's back.
Yeah.
It was a great weekend that went by in a blur. Who cares that Florida lost on Saturday because we had the NFL on Sunday? So it's been a wild couple of days.
And you're a Colts fan. So you told us that in the break beforehand. So it's like, at least for this week, we said Daniel Jones, look at this, could be the new Baker Mayfield, could be the new Sam Darnold. He's getting his career turned around, at least for week 1, so that you can hang your hat on that too.
Yeah, and I'm not, Kendall, you'll get to learn a little bit more about me. We're going to have weekly hits over on my show.
Yeah.
I am not one to let people not hear it when they are wrong. So this week is going to be a lot of fun. Now, if they go out and lose to the Broncos and get smoked next week, then I probably won't say anything. But the next 7 days are going to be great.
That's perfect. Yeah, take the victory laps when you can. Especially with Daniel Jones. I really like that. But Jonathan Von Tobel here, guys, he's going to be with us every single Monday, breaking down everything from Monday Night Football bets to, early look-ahead lines for week 2. I do want to start, though, Jonathan, with tonight's game, Monday Night Football. We've got a lot of people calling in saying how much, what's DeAndre Swift going to look like? JJ McCarthy going up against Caleb Williams. The night as a whole, though, spread sitting at 1.5. Money line is sitting minus 120 for the Minnesota Vikings, total at 43.5. So just overall in this game, is there a side that you actually like going into tonight?
Yeah, I bet the Bears money line. So to get them to get the win outright here, with some week 2 lines popping up, you could pair this with a teaser at a shop that you feel is accurately priced as well. Get them up through the key numbers of 3 and 7. But look, it's you ever seen the Joker with Joaquin Phoenix when he's sitting on the couch and it's the meme, right? And I'm tired of feeling like it's not, or whatever he says. I'm tired of hiding the fact that I think the Bears might be good this year. Ben Johnson, I think, is a very good offensive play caller. We saw a little bit of growth. Granted, the Buffalo Bills preseason game doesn't mean much when you're playing against backups, but Caleb Williams looked like he was in command, that he was comfortable. And I got to tell you, I actually felt a little bit more confident in this take after watching the Lions yesterday against the Green Bay Packers without Ben Johnson. I think that they're going to put together a good enough game plan, and I'm not one to give up on guys. I think Williams is still really talented. I think they're going to be good enough on defense against J.J. McCarthy, who we still don't know that much about, with a thin wide receiver core, that they're going to be in position to win this game. And it's not the craziest thing, right? It's a 1.5-point spread. It's going to be a tight coin flip, but I've got the Bears today. I think the revamped offensive line and the new system under Johnson is going to get them off to a good start here today against a division rival.
What player props stand out to you or something you're eyeing for tonight?
Yeah, so there's two that stuck out. One is Vikings related, one is Bears related. We'll stick with the Bears vibe really quickly. Caleb Williams, the lowest passing yards I can find for him in the market is 217.5. I want to go over that. If you look at Jared Goff's numbers under Ben Johnson, that was a number that he regularly eclipsed in his time in the Detroit Lions. And granted, these aren't the two quarterbacks that are equals to one another. Jared Goff is obviously the better quarterback, but I just believe that if we're just going to get the one-to-one with Ben Johnson's system here, this should be an opportunistic pass offense that I think Caleb Williams is going to be able to have some success in. I think 217.5 was pretty low for Williams. So over the lower number in the market, that's over at DraftKings and some other spots at 217.5, I thought was playable. And the other that I thought was going to be interesting with this thin wide receiver core for the Vikings, I feel like there could be some volatility, right? Like outside of Justin Jefferson, who else is going to be getting some of these passes thrown to them? Jalen Naylor's numbers are pretty low across the board. If you're looking at some of the props for him in receiving yards, it's as low as I think 19.5 at a couple of spots. You can find 18.5 in some other shops. I think that when you're looking at who's going to get the ball thrown to them in not a new offense, but a new quarterback-led offense with these wide receivers who are somewhat questionable behind Jefferson, I think that's a low number to get and an opportunity that is out there for him. So Naylor over 18.5 receiving yards, I thought was also worth looking at too.
No, I like that one. I think this is going to be a good game. Again, we're talking with Jonathan Von Tobel here, on air betting analyst and host for VSiN. Just curious, not necessarily aligned before we move on to just week 2, but we have had a lot of calls on DeAndre Swift. I'm curious what your expectations are for him tonight. I know he's got an over under for his rushing yards sitting. I've seen it 53.5 right now, but we've had people say they need him to go under. We've had people say, hey, I need DeAndre Swift to win. So just your expectations with Swift in this Bears backfield where he just really doesn't have much competition.
Yeah, I mean, my assumption would be here that he's going to get a bulk of the carries and touches. And when you're looking at his overall yards, and by the way, I should note too, Roschon Johnson is questionable tonight as well, right? So, I mean, even behind him, we don't even know what this is going to look like. Sometimes that there is it might seem pretty obvious, but why not? Again, going back to what we know about Ben Johnson and what he did with that Lions offense, they do build through their running game, right? And it can be an explosive running game at that when it's extremely well schemed and game planned. I know the number for him in ranges. That's why it's important to shop around. Some spots are as high as 55.5, others are as low as 52.5, but I'd lean a little bit toward over 52.5. Now, I think it goes with the game plan. If you're somebody that thinks the Bears are going to get smoked here, then obviously I don't think you want to go there because I don't think they're going to be going to Swift a ton on the ground. But if you're somebody like me that thinks the Bears are going to be pretty live to win this game, I would assume that means that Swift is going to be pretty live to go over that rushing prop, especially at the low total of 52.5.
Looking ahead to week 2, we know everyone overreacts to week 1, and that's what that team is going to be for the season. And people are very down on Miami right now. They're home next week against New England. They're favored by 1.5. Your thoughts on that?
So you're looking at somebody that's been down in Miami going into the year. This has nothing to do with my team's win over Miami. I've got an alternate win total under of 6.5. I think that they're actually going to be in contention potentially for one of the worst records in the NFL, even a sneaky long shot at maybe the worst record in the NFL. I was watching Mike McDaniel's press conference this morning. The guy just doesn't really inspire me as a leader of men. And then you look at the injury report coming out of that game against Indianapolis. Storm Duck goes down. You lose the starting offensive lineman as well. It seems really, really bad at this point. But I think I'll buy on bad news because I think what's even worse is this Patriots secondary. And I think this is dependent on whether or not Christian Gonzalez is going to play this next week for New England. But if Gonzalez is not going to be out there, I understand the vibes are at an all-time low for this team. By the way, you know Waddle got hurt in that game too, right? So that's another thing that they might have to deal with. But I think that if you're going to, it's like a battle of attrition. If the Dolphins injury report is a little bit better here, for me, I use home field as 1.5 points. So if you're going to tell me these two teams are equals to one another, I think I'd still kind of buy the fact that Miami's slightly better than New England, and that number seems somewhat cheap. So we'll see what the injury report looks like. But if Christian Gonzalez is not available for New England, count me down if you have a little bit more better health luck if you're Miami in this game.
Not that we usually go and look at the Kansas City Chiefs and say, what's their line? Should we bet against them? But I do think it's interesting and want your take. Adam and I were talking about this earlier in the show that the Chiefs are playing at home going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles were originally underdogs going into this weekend. Now they're 1.5-point favorites for this game on Sunday. We know the Chiefs are probably going to be without Xavier Worthy, probably going to be without Rashee Rice. But just your overall first impression, first thoughts on this game and this matchup.
My initial thought is actually over for this game. I think when you looked at both teams, first off, I think Philly's got a real cornerback problem, at least in their second corner spot. Adoree Jackson, who was concussed, is not particularly great. Jacory Bennett, who is playing out here in my backyard in Las Vegas, is not great either, and both of those got really good snaps, and it was not great. And God forbid if Quinyon Johnson and Quinyon Mobe is actually going to be pretty poor here, then all of a sudden you're looking at a corner situation outside of Cooper DeJean that looks really bad for Philadelphia. But I think that's something to worry about here that the Chiefs can exploit despite the injuries at wide receiver and, of course, the absences. But on the flip side, if you look at some of the numbers for Kansas City, when you look at the dudes who had to drop back in coverage, specifically in that secondary, that was not good. If you look at it from PFF standards and others, I think we have the chance here to have a potentially high-scoring game between the two. From a side perspective, I think you can make the argument that maybe this is a little bit of a overreaction when you're talking about where the market was prior to the game in Brazil and where we're at now for this one, as you mentioned, where we're at with the line for Philadelphia. But I think that I'm more inclined to expect this game to potentially go over the total, despite the fact that I think we were 11-2 to the under on Sunday. There was a lot of under games, but I think this one would lend itself to maybe going over the total.
Your Colts at home against Denver. Denver 2.5-point favorites. A little bit of a tougher task this week. What do you see in this game?
So, there's a lot of ties here, right? I'm a Colts fan. Shane Steichen, head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, or as I like to refer to him as, former UNLV quarterback and head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, Shane Steichen. I think he's a very good play caller and game planner. I think we saw a lot of that against Miami. I think he was playing chess, and Mike McDaniel in this defense was playing checkers, and we saw it immediately. And I'm not a Bo Nix believer, and we saw a little bit of that against Tennessee. If you go back to their schedule last year, they beat some of the worst teams in the NFL, or at least the lesser teams on their schedule, and when they matched up with some of the better ones, it was a little bit of a struggle for Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos offense. I think the Colts fall into that category. The Colts also, with a little bit of revenge on their mind, it's a little bit of an old school handicapping angle, but if you remember, they went into Denver last year with big playoff implications, and they were leading in that game. They had forced turnovers. I think they picked off Bo Nix 3 times, but then Shane Steichen calls the weird double pass, gets picked off for a touchdown, and then everything goes to hell, and they end up losing that game. I think the Colts are in a really good spot, and if their pass rush is what it looked like against Miami, which I have a little bit of a pause because I think Miami's offensive line is really bad, but if they're going to be able to rush the passer the way they did in this new look defense, I think this lends itself to the Colts, who I think came into the season pretty underrated. I think that this is a spot where they can pull another win out and start off 2-0. So I'll be on the side of Indianapolis this coming weekend.
Oh, I love it. Well, Jonathan, we appreciate you hanging out with us here today. We get to talk with you every Monday, so we're excited about that. And hopefully every Monday we get to talk about just how good Daniel Jones is looking. That would be perfect, right?
I would appreciate it.
We appreciate you, though, and we'll talk to you next week. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
All right, there he goes, Jonathan Von Tobel here. Make sure you check him out, on-air host and betting analyst over at VSiN. We're going to continue on talking through this Monday Night Football preview here coming up next. We've got one more game to go here, Adam, for Monday Night Football to wrap up week 1, and it hopefully should be a good one. Minnesota Vikings going up against the Chicago Bears. Again, Chicago Bears are the underdogs in this one. Total sitting at 43.5. What are your expectations? I want to start with the quarterbacks, because really it's a question of 2 quarterbacks. You've got JJ McCarthy coming in. We had no sample size really last season. We're not going to count preseason games or anything like that. So JJ McCarthy going up against this Bears defense. Last year, the Bears held quarterbacks to 13.2 fantasy points per game, which was the second fewest in the NFL. But we know that Kevin O'Connell, to me, when I look at this game, he's not going to put on, kid gloves. He's not going to make it easy, make everything easy for JJ McCarthy. He's going to go out there and just going to let him hopefully play in a pass heavy offense tonight. That's what I can see. You've got really good pieces around him, but curious what your expectations are for JJ McCarthy to start and then Caleb Williams.
I'm really not expecting big numbers from either. I think that's reflected in the consensus rankings too, Fantasy Life this week, both outside the top 12. And McCarthy, it's his first career start on the road in prime time against a division rival. They are going to be without Jordan Addison, who's missing 3 games due to a suspension, and he was a key component of the offense. I know we just talked about Jalen Naylor. He's missed time with a hand injury. So, and then also Adam Thielen just got there. He's been with the Vikings for a week. So how much time has he had to work with McCarthy? So I think you're going to see them focus on the run. And I think they told us that this offseason by bringing in Jordan Mason and also bolstering the offensive line. So I wouldn't expect a lot from McCarthy tonight. I think they're not going to ask him to do too much. Caleb Williams, I'm really interested in watching him play because he did look in command in that preseason game. And it still was one drive, but there's high expectations for him. They did everything they could to put the pieces around him. The offensive line, they added pieces. Ben Johnson comes in. The draft with Colston Loveland, Luther Burden, who we might not see much of, at least early on in the season. So there's a lot of talent here, but I don't think either quarterback is going to put up big numbers tonight.
Last year as well, Minnesota blitzed at the highest rate in the NFL, and they also ranked 6th in pressure rate. So we know Caleb Williams and the sacks from last season. You just hope you don't see that much tonight, because I think a lot of people, me included for sure, I mean, I've bet on this team to step up and be better. I've bet on Caleb Williams to step up and be better. I'm not starting him anywhere tonight because I just had a few better options for week 1. But again, when you look at the Vikings, they also, against quarterbacks, they've kept them in check. They gave up the 12th fewest yards per attempt and passing touchdowns, and they had the 2nd lowest passer rating in 2024. When we go over to Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason, comfortable enough to start both. I mean, you have no option if you're waiting this long, but if you had the choice, a couple days ago, Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason, comfortable enough to start both with Jordan Mason coming in there?
I think so. I expect Aaron Jones to get it done a little bit more in the passing game. So that's the only risk with Mason. You're relying on yardage and a touchdown. But I do think that they are going to use the running backs pretty heavily tonight. So I am comfortable. I don't want to say comfortable with Mason, but like you said, you've already kind of made your decision.
You have no option.
Yeah, and I think I do have Mason in a starting lineup somewhere. I know that for sure.
I mean, maybe if you have DeAndre Swift, Jordan Mason, you do have an option.
You play Swift. I think you'd have to play Swift there.
Over. I would agree.
Yeah, look, Swift is he should get a huge volume tonight because, again, I'm not expecting Roschon Johnson to play, and Kyle Monangai, again, has also missed time with an injury, and he's a rookie. So this should be pretty much DeAndre Swift's backfield tonight. So I think you would easily start Swift over either of those Minnesota running backs.
The one thing you look at with the Lions, just bringing it back to Ben Johnson, is that the Lions finish top 2 every year in running back goal line carries. So if they're there with Swift, you just hope that he's able to punch it in. And I agree with you there. I need Rome Odunze. Can we say Rome Odunze to have a Keon Coleman-like night? Come on. Keon Coleman stepped up. I think he's the wide receiver 2 in fantasy points this week, or at least in the top 5, 25.2 over on ESPN.
He has 2 behind Zay Flowers.
Wow, who would have thought?
And Quentin Johnston is 3rd.
God, I hate week 1 is so gross. Rome Odunze or any Bears, or just really any Bears pass catchers. But I saw a couple questions on Rome Odunze. You get it done?
Yeah, look, it seemed like he has a good rapport with Caleb Williams. So we know DJ Moore's the veteran, but I could see Odunze having a good game tonight.
What a show. So much to talk about. So much more to talk about tomorrow. We're going to be with Paul Charchian. We're going to be with Dwayne McFarland. Make sure you keep it right here, though. RotoWire Fantasy Sports Today with Jeff Erickson and Nick Whalen's coming up next. Go to fantasylife.com. Sign up. Use SXM20 for 20% off. See that waiver wire article. We'll be back same time tomorrow. Good luck tonight.